At rank number 18, we have Australia. So the certification process requires a few different things. For the education requirements, the AITSL will assess your requirements, which is the Australian Institute for Teaching and School Leadership. So teachers in Australia are going to require a minimum of 4 years of tertiary education, which must include both discipline and studies and teacher professional studies. So teacher candidates can choose to train at the undergraduate or graduate level, and there are a few different models of the study. The first one is a 4-year undergrad degree in education, so something like getting a degree in Bachelor of Education. A 3 or 4-year undergraduate degree followed by a teacher qualification, so a 1-year diploma of teaching or a master of teaching. And then you could also do a combined or double degree program, such as the Bachelor of Teaching and then having Bachelor of Arts as well. And then for all of these, the qualification must include a minimum of 45 days of supervised teaching practice with students. So other possible requirements are going to be English tests, so an academic version of the International English Language Testing System that's going to show a score of at least 7.0 for reading and writing and at least a score of 8.0 for speaking and listening. And then you're also going to have your criminal record check. And then if you're coming from a different country to teach in Australia, you're going to need at least 4 full years of study in higher education. That's going to be equivalent and comparable to the educational level of an Australian bachelor degree or higher, and must include a recognized initial teacher education qualification. And then along with that, you're going to need your Australian education visa or a working visa. So getting into the education system in Australia, so if we look at the picture on the left, it's going to show the education system in Australia. So we see that it has pre-primary, primary, lower secondary, upper secondary, and post-secondary and tertiary. So pre-primary is going to be your preschool and your kindergarten, which is going to be as early as age 3 through age 5. Your primary school is going to be ages 5 through age 10 or 11. And then your lower secondary school is also just called secondary school, which is going to be ages 11 or 12 through 14. And then we have our upper secondary school, which is also called senior secondary school. That's going to be ages 15 through 17. And then finally, you have your post-secondary and tertiary school, which is going to be your higher education or your university study. And that's going to vary according to your degree program. So looking at the next picture on the right, we see basically a framework for Australian professional standards and principles. And we see that Australians really, really value leadership requirements and professional practices and education. So leadership requirements are going to really emphasize on leading, teaching, and learning, developing yourself and others, leading improvement, innovation, and change, leading the school, and then also engaging and working with the community. And then as far as professional practices go, that's going to really emphasize vision and values, having knowledge and understanding of the curriculum, and then personal qualities, social and interpersonal skills necessary to be a high-quality teacher. So we see that Australians really, really value high-quality learning, teaching, and schooling. And this is how they're going to build successful and confident, creative learners that are going to be individuals that are active and informed when they go out into the real world. So next, we have educational goals for students in Australia. So students in Australia, there's really 2 main goals for them. The first goal is going to be schooling in Australia must promote equity and excellence. So this is going to mean providing all students to schooling that excludes discrimination. It's going to ensure cultural knowledge and experiences and ensure that schools promote learning for students with needs of disabilities. And then goal 2 for these students are that they're going to become successful, confident, and creative, and they're going to be active and informed citizens that are going to thrive when they get out. How can we accomplish these goals? So the first thing, develop strong partnerships with students, parents, and the schools, and then promote world-class curriculum and assessment. So that means that emphasizing that teachers use their information on students to inform their teaching and allow the students to reflect and monitor their own progress. And that's going to assist and help teachers with assessment and curriculum. Finally, we have student and school statistics and curriculum. So these are just kind of fun facts that were found about Australia and their education, which the first being that almost 4 million students were enrolled in 9,500 schools. And then in addition, in Australia, there are government and non-government schools, and the latter is broken up into Catholic and independent schools. So for the government schools, there's going to be about 2/3 of students enrolled in those. And then for Catholic, you have 19.5% of students. And then for the independent schools, you have 14.8%. So going deeper into that, teachers are going to make up 68.5% of in-school full-time equivalent staff. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. So in addition to that, the year 7 to 12, the full-time retention rate was 84%, which is pretty phenomenal. And then the average student to teaching staff ratio for all schools was 13.7%, which I thought that was a good number, because you don't want to have too many students in your classroom, because if you have too many, you can't get to all the students and you can't help all students in the way that you want. And then finally, according to the Australian Curriculum Assessment and Reporting Authority, so the ACARA, a national curriculum is being developed right now that includes English, history, math, and science. And this is going to equip all young Australians with the essential knowledge and skills to thrive in the real world. So final reflection, interesting facts was that I feel like Australia has a similar certification process as we do in the United States. And then my groupmates and I also did not know that Australia had government and non-government schools. And then it's very clear that Australia focuses heavily on assessment and student achievement. And then I love that they have 14 students per teacher in the classrooms. Like I said before, I think that we need to keep that number kind of low so that we can reach and get to all the students that are struggling and not get overwhelmed with it. And then finally, Australian education values their students being competent to thrive because of their education. So final thoughts is that Australian education really emphasizes professional standards and gaining experience in leadership roles, and the overall principles are valued. So Australian teachers as leaders must understand their impact in the classroom. And because of that, they need to continue to learn and grow as a teacher and then evolve from their basic leadership practices and behaviors. And then Australian teachers as professionals must never stop leading, teaching, and learning. They have to continue to develop, and they need to lead improvement and engage with their community. So they're going to be creating, influencing, delivering, and raising achievement at any age or any level as far as students go in education. And those are our references, and that is all we have.